Give them a call. Barbecue Central, 313-397-7523. That's 313-397-7523. One more time, 313-397-7523.
40 million. That's the number of free phones still available and the number of how many Americans can still get prescriptions free.
Free could be wonderful.
That's why I'm still working at 77 years old to pay off my prescriptions.
I needed to have a prescription filled, and I had to leave because I couldn't afford it.
Call now and see what's available for you. Free prescriptions. Over 10 million people get prescriptions free, and the program has expanded, so another 40 million can. Free dental. Over 15,000 dentists have provided over $330 million in free dental work. Free cell phones. 40 million free cell phones are still available with free minutes and more.
Free cell phone would change my life right now because it is something I cannot afford to get.
Medical supplies like back braces, knee braces, and diabetic supplies may be covered too. The free RX Plus hotline has saved callers over $12 million on their prescription costs. These free programs are now available to 40 million more people. Call now.
So you've decided to go to college. That's cool. So pop quiz. Which is a better way to earn your degree? Commute to college and fill your gas tank, get stuck in traffic, drive in bad weather, try to find a parking space, walk a half mile to class, or learn online at Independence University. You don't go to college. College goes to you. That's Independence. That's Independence University. And all your supplies, including a brand new laptop and tablet, are included with tuition. Independence U for an independent you.
Call 1-800-556-7791.
3, 1.
You're listening to 910 AM Superstation. The most powerful voices in the African American community are all right here on the new 910 AM Radio Superstation. The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of 910 AM Superstation or Adele Media. WFDF Farmington Hills, Detroit. 910 AM Superstation, a division of Adele Media.
Good morning. You're listening to 910 AM, the Superstation. My name is Robert Ficano. And this morning I'm joined by Police Commissioner Willie Burton and by Scotty Boman. And you can join us if you'd like at 313-778-7600, 313-778-7600. Before we get started, there's, the sad news of what happened tragically this past week with a Detroit police officer losing his life and another actually being shot and injured as well. And it's a sad way to start the show, but Willie, what information do you have on any of this so far?
I agree with you, Bob. 110%. It's definitely sad loss here in the city of Detroit and with the Detroit Police Department. This officer had a bright future here with Detroit and had many years served his community. But the question remain, what are we going to do about violence right here in the city? I mean, violence is on one end, the chief says violence is, crime is down in certain aspects, but then in other aspects, crime is still high. But this person right here didn't have no business being on the street.
Yeah, that was kind of an interesting situation where apparently Detroit PD had shot up the house 2 weeks before or something, and Detroit PD had a 16-year-old kept coming in and giving, from what I understand, information about where he was and where the perpetrator was and things like that. And it seems like, has it fallen through the cracks, or I'm not sure what happened that they didn't actually go and pick him up. And we know that everybody gets, the system gets overwhelmed at times, but I think in this particular case, because he had been shooting off a gun, he shot up his girlfriend's house and things like that, that usually violent acts usually take priority for the police to go look for him.
There is an internal investigation I've been hearing that the chief is going to hopefully get to the bottom of this and find out who dropped the ball and when, if someone dropped the ball. It sounds like someone did.
Yeah. Well, the biggest issue is that this person did not, should have not had a gun in the first place. He had
several prior convictions, so as a felon, he's not entitled
and the fact
to have a gun.
The fight was over his girlfriend, who was 16.
That I didn't know. She was 16 years old.
There, that he was even dating a 16-year-old as an adult seems like peculiar as well.
And to the community, when you see something like this, you hear something, pick up the phone, notify the Detroit Police Department, speak up.
Yeah, well, one of the issues is, though, and it carries over quite a bit, is it has to do with trust in terms of there was somebody that did go ahead and speak to them, and it was about incidents that they saw involving him. And I think people are a little bit disturbed that, even though for 2 weeks they knew that he had shot up the place, that nobody went and actually picked him up.
Bob, since I've been a police commissioner here in the city of Detroit, I cannot tell you how many officers we had lost in the line of duty. We have had about 7, 8 officers shot, injured, killed in the line of duty since I've been a police commission. Representing District 5. We shouldn't have officers shot at or killed in the line of duty. Not here, not anywhere in America. Where this person, who happens to be a felon, what is he doing with an assault rifle? What is he doing with a weapon, period? Talk about gun control. That's a whole nother discussion, but this person didn't have no business being on the streets.
Yeah, I want to make a distinction there. I mean, there's a difference between somebody who does not have these kind of tendencies having a weapon and someone who's actually got a criminal record and clearly not only should not be armed, he probably should not be on the loose.
Yeah, well, he just finished parole, from what I understand. He'd just gotten off parole. He had a very long rap sheet, so... We have a caller on. He calls himself Mr. Positive. Hello. Good morning. You're on the show here.
Good morning, you guys. You look fine, Mr. Positive. I'm going to be a little bit negative. I'm a little bit, I don't know how to say this. 10 people were shot in Detroit last night. I just feel that Detroit's becoming a cesspool of violence. And we have to do something about it. People have to be ashamed of living in Detroit. It's just unbelievable violence.
Well, I think people are obviously scared about living in Detroit. If you're in some of the neighborhoods that have just been shot up with it.
Yeah.
And
there have been shootings in East Point and Warren in the past week, too. So I don't think we should be, I don't think this is a regional matter. It is a problem.
It's in outskirts of Detroit. I mean, it's just people are coming from Detroit or, it's scary. It's just, I don't know what to say. I mean, Bobby brought up about prevention, but, he said it about a week or two ago, and someone brought it to my attention that there are preventive measures. There's laws and there's prisons. So that should deter people from, committing violence. It's very scary.
Not to get in the whole sociological thing that happens, but
sociological. Okay.
One of the issues that sometimes comes up is that if you're a 14, 15, 16-year-old committing a crime, people say, well, the law will deter them and violence and things like that.
Yes.
If you're 14, 15, or 16, you're not thinking about the time that you're going to be spending in prison for what act you're committing. Okay, so I don't know how much of it actually is a deterrent to a youngster if they're looking at a violent act, and if violence is all around them, that's the way they've been taught to solve problems. I'm sorry, go ahead.
To the older people too. I mean, there are deterrents out there. As my buddy Jimmy Cricket will probably be calling it. It's very. I'm watching the news last night, and I'm going, oh God, oh here we go again. 10 people, 7 people.
But contrast that to Friday night, where you had 40,000 people for the a tree lighting ceremony. So I mean, there's a trust that's there. And there seems. I mean, you hate that image of two Detroits, but is there, an image of two Detroits that if you're in the neighborhoods, it's not real safe. If you're downtown, there's 40,000 people, and that's okay. Nothing's going to happen to you.
Bobby, Scotty, and Commissioner Burton, do you think there should be, I know this is going to be a little bit up there, but vigilantism, if there's people out there that are crimes and murders, should Detroit people start,
Absolutely not. I mean, if once you start a vigilante action, the thing swings out of control. I mean, you just can't have it. I mean, and plus people are going to be making their own decisions and start shooting others, and vengeance plays into it and everything else.
I said this before.
Bobby, what's the solution?
I said
solution, Scotty, Bobby. Come on, give me a solution. I need a solution.
Well, as your police commissioner for District 5, I can give you a solution here. I think we need to invest heavily in public safety. We need to put more resources behind Chief Craig and his administration to hire and deploy more police officers, number one. Do I support the chief's initiatives about putting cops on dots? No, I think we need to beef up the police department.
What's cops on what?
Cops? Do you think these people care about getting caught? We got to stop the mentality. We got to stop the infrastructure that creates this kind of.
Go ahead. Well, let me just finish this statement real quick.
I love it. Okay.
Like I said before, it's clear we need to invest heavily in public safety. Period. Yes. Do I support the chief's initiative about putting cops on dots? No. I think we need to hire and deploy more police officers across the city of Detroit. Period. And, but we have to be able to retain our officers that's coming out of the academy. We should not be letting Detroit be the training ground where they come in and, for a few months or, and then they off to another department. But we do have to be able to fix that gap and be able to...
You lose police officers all the time. You train them, then you lose them because they go to other departments for higher pay. Which is one of the problems.
The higher pay is one thing. You're absolutely right, 110%, Bob. But another thing is, where are they going to stay if they know that they're not going to walk out of here with health care?
Well, yeah, it's all the whole package at this point.
As far as a solution, the word solution goes much deeper than Band-Aids. And I think any kind of institutional response is just that. It's a response. It's reactive, not proactive. And ultimately, a solution becomes a change in the way people think and their attitude towards others. And teaching people and building a culture of tolerance and nonviolence where aggression is condemned as fundamentally evil, regardless of who does it and when they do it. And when one gets there, then we see less violence. But until then, it's always going to be that there is really no solution. There is simply a response in mitigating a problem.
Well, another solution for violence here, to reduce violence here, we need to be able to address poverty for what it is. Poverty is still high in the city of Detroit. 60% of women with children are living in abject poverty.
Yeah,
what's wrong with that?
And if here's the problem: the pendulum always swings. You get a real aggressive action by the police. Okay, go to New York, stop and frisk in the other areas that are real aggressive about trying to do that. Then all of a sudden you get a pushback on the other end. So I mean, it's almost finding the neutral ground is real difficult. That is going to satisfy people because people. They don't want to be shot at. They don't want this violence to occur.
But you mentioned stop and frisk. Mike Bloomberg, who's now happens to be jumping in the presidential campaign or whatever.
He's thinking about it. Yeah.
He was very open to stop and frisk. But right now the problem.
So is Giuliani. Look where he is.
Right?
Yeah. Okay. We have a ton of callers on this, so appreciate you. Have a great Sunday. All right. All right. Take care. Emra, you're on with the panel here.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Laura. What I wanted to say is that this gentleman before me, people want to address what happens in Detroit with more police, more jails, whatever, but you're looking at a city that has been looted, abandoned, and traumatized. Traumatized people act the way you see people acting now. So no, the solution is not more police and more jails. The solution is turning our tax money back to the city so that our children have quality, stable schools and quality education, that they have recreation centers, that they have homes that are not substandard, that we're not looking at scores and thousands of people being evicted and foreclosed on. Unless you address those things, and again, jobs that pay a living wage. Until you address those things.
But one of your issues is you want these companies to locate.
Let me finish.
Sure, go ahead.
Thank you.
Well, finish. Hello?
This is, I listen to people who just pass judgment on people all day long about the behavior of people in Detroit. But the people in Detroit are living under war-torn circumstances. They live in neighborhoods that look like something out of the Middle East. They're living in homes that look like they could be in a third world country. People in Detroit don't want to live like that. But almost every avenue of redress and ability to move out of those things have been cut off by various entities.
Who cut them off?
So so we can start with federal government cuts, we can start with state government cuts, we can start with city cuts, we can talk about the abandonment of corporations that are in this city but don't pay taxes, or the people who move into this city, into specific neighborhoods and get 12-year tax abatements. We can talk, there's a lack of money. The people underwriting this whole quote-unquote renaissance of Detroit are those vintage Detroiters. They're paying the real taxes here.
I understand that, but you got to find a balance as well.
They aren't paying any tax.
Okay.
They aren't paying any taxes.
Who isn't? I'm sorry.
Gilbert and Illage are not paying taxes.
Well, they're paying taxes. It's just that their projects get tax credits.
No,
there are taxes that are paid.
Well, there are plenty of communities where there are lower taxes and less crime and violence, so I don't think raising taxes is a cure for crime. In fact, it's kind of like saying more armed robbery to prevent armed robbery makes sense somehow, and it doesn't.
So let me say this again, sir, because I do not remember that I said raise taxes. I said that those entities that are not paying their taxes, their fair share, should be paying their taxes. I didn't say anything about a raise.
Okay, let me ask you this. If you're competing with another community and you don't have these tax incentives, how do you get those businesses to locate? What's the solution?
I think every single city in the United States of America should quit trying to court these corporations.
I don't think anybody disagrees with you, but that's not what's in reality happening.
Yeah, but the thing is, we're talking about capitalism. These are not capitalists.
I understand that.
Our money.
But how do you go to Lordstown and tell them not to give them incentives? How do you go to Lordstown and tell them not to give them incentives?
I'm agreeing with the caller that we shouldn't have favors for one organization over another.
Right now that every single municipality in the United States of America should cease today courting these corporations with all of this tax money that just undercuts and deprives and devastates their communities.
Okay, let's say we agree with you. From a practical standpoint, how are you going to tell all these companies not to do that? I mean, all these communities not to do that? Are you going to go to Lordstown, where they just lost the GM plant, and tell them, okay, for the company that's buying the GM plant, that there shouldn't be incentives? I don't know. Isn't that really their decision of what they want to do?
Aren't there mayor's conferences?
Yeah.
I think that should begin to be a real conversation at these mayoral conferences.
Okay, I understand that from a practical standpoint. With over 300 million people in all these communities in the United States, how are you going to get them to all singly agree? And constitutionally, that's going to be impossible too, because we are 50 individual states, as what you've seen by the past elections and everything else. They have the authority if they want to give tax breaks. And I agree with you. It's a terrible way to run the system. But how are you going to get somebody in Minnesota or in Mississippi or Alabama to agree that they're not going to give incentives for these companies to come in?
Well, the thing is, if it's an incentive, it's a good incentive for one company. Why isn't it a good incentive for all companies?
It shouldn't be
because they take one of the problems is what they take it from. It's one thing maybe for the city to give up its taxes. It's another for the school district to give it up. Because either, if you want a good school system, you don't give up the taxes necessarily.
Even giving up the taxes from the city, because our services are undercut by that. I mean, I don't have the kind of services out here at the Michigan-Livernois area that people down in downtown Detroit, Midtown, and New Center have, because I lived in Midtown until I was priced out.
Okay. Well, we appreciate you calling in. We have a number of callers. We appreciate.
Sure. I appreciate the time.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Take care. Have a great Sunday. I know we have a number of callers. We have to go to break. I apologize. But Walter, Fidel, Barbara, Reggie, all hang on. We're going to get to you right after the break. You listen to 910 AM, the Superstation.
This music has touched your soul. Now you can experience it live and in person. See the one and only Anthony Hamilton live at Motor City Casino's Soundboard on November 24th. Get your tickets at Ticketmaster.com today.
So you've decided to go to college. That's cool. So pop quiz. Which is a better way to earn your degree? Commute to college and fill your gas tank, get stuck in traffic, drive in bad weather, try to find a parking space, walk a half mile to class, or learn online at Independence University. In the park on a bench, on the beach on a towel, or on your couch with your kid, your campus is wherever you want it to be. You don't go to college. College goes to you. That's independence. That's Independence University. You schedule classes around your schedule, and all your supplies, including a brand new laptop and tablet, are included with tuition. At Independence U, you'll learn from professional instructors with real work experience. You'll get personal support in school and employment assistance when you graduate. Get your degree, but keep your life. That's independence. That's Independence University. So if you're really smart, you call now.
Call 1-800-556-7791.
Independence U, for an independent you.
Call 1-800-556-7791.
Are you getting the most out of your Medicare plan? Are you sure? Many people with Medicare are eligible for plans that include extra benefits in addition to those found in original Medicare. Benefits like dental, vision, and prescription drug coverage. Call now to see if you're eligible to enroll. The consultation is free with no obligation to enroll. In addition to hospital and medical coverage, at no extra cost, you could also get coverage for prescription drugs, dental, hearing, vision, and more. In many areas, plans with benefits are available with $0 copays for many services, $0 monthly premiums, or $0 deductibles. That's hospital, medical, prescription drug, dental coverage, and more included in one plan with premiums that may be as low as $0 a month. Call now to see if you're eligible to enroll. The consultation is free and there's no obligation to enroll.
Call 1-800-571-8580. That's 1-800-571-8580.
So you've decided to go to college. That's cool. So pop quiz. Which is a better way to earn your degree? Commute to college and fill your gas tank, get stuck in traffic, drive in bad weather, try to find a parking space, walk a half mile to class, or learn online at Independence University. You don't go to college. College goes to you. That's independence. That's Independence University. And all your supplies, including a brand new laptop and tablet, are included with tuition. Independence U, for an independent you.
Call 1-800-556-7791.
Do you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS? If so, you may qualify for the IRS's Fresh Start program. The Fresh Start program is one of the biggest tax breaks the IRS has offered. Call Tax Group Center at 800-685-6150 to see if you qualify for the IRS's Fresh Start program. Their team of tax experts and attorneys will get you the best tax settlement possible. Call 800-685-6150 now to learn if you qualify for the IRS's Fresh Start program. Call Tax Group Center at 800-685-6150. 800-685-6150.
Are you drowning in debt? Struggling just to make minimum payments? It's not your fault. Serious debt can happen to anyone, but there is hope. Our debt-free program has helped thousands of good people, just like you, eliminate their credit card debt. Call us today, and we will dramatically reduce your credit card debt down to just a fraction of what you owe. The call is free. The consultation is free. Take control of your credit debt. Take control of your life again. Call now to see how our debt-free program can work for you.
Call 800-872-5230.
Good morning. It's 9:10 a.m. the Superstation. My name is Robert Ficano. You can join us at 313-778-7600. We're also here today with Scotty Boman and Police Commissioner Willie Burton. So we have a number of callers, so we're going to get to you. Fidel, you're on with the panel.
Hey, good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Hey, I want to set the tone here. In the city of Detroit, a lot of us, we already know what's going on. When I was a teenager in the 80s and the 90s, the older guys always mess with the younger girls. The parents know about it, and that's just the way it is. For some odd reason, gentlemen, when I was coming up as well, it was either killed or be killed. That was just our mindset. Black men have a problem with saying that I'm wrong. Somebody can do something, you can tell a guy, and they do it. That'll lead to a fight, that'll lead to gunplay. That's been all my life, and it hasn't been solved in 2019. I had to go through that all my life. So it's not that I be so hard on my Christian folks, I just give the facts.
Okay, do you think people should resolve their issues by violence? Is that what you're saying? So it's an excuse saying that you knew there was violence in the past, so that's why I'm going to resolve it in the future?
I'm saying that we can't, as men, can't admit we'll be wrong. There's a wrong and a right. Whether you stepped on my shoes or not, I should be able to let that go. But if you come back the next hour and do it, come back the next day and do it, and now we in high school, there's going to be a problem. There is no class that teaches us to love each other, do business with each other, love your women, women love your men. There's no class for that. It's always teasing, fighting. This crew's bigger than this crew, jump on this crew. Later on in life, this crew, the other crew that was weak get bigger.
But isn't that up to the adults? I mean, you're talking about adolescents that are, have these attitudes, and there's immaturity, and it's just not in Detroit. You can go to a lot of Metro Detroit high schools, and there's immaturity there by the high schoolers. With it.
I think he's right that there's no class doing this in most schools, and I think what people need to, the subject matter that people are impoverished on is philosophy and rational thought. And what you're describing here is a break from rational thought, where people just are not, well, first of all, being unable to admit error is a breakaway from rational thought. Rational thought means you can look at facts, you can look at logic, and come to a conclusion that perhaps is different than the one you had before you looked at these matters, and you can admit that you're wrong.
Well, Trump never admits error either. It doesn't mean that it's right.
Here's the thing, what you just said. With black folks, we do look at that. We can see where Kwame went to jail for 28 years, and we can also see where Snyder ain't even being charged. So when you say, well, damn, after so long, Dan Gilbert owns this, he get a tax raise. The Illich own this, the Fords own this, Penske own this, and we own little to nothing, guess where that rage go? It goes back into your neighborhood because there's no self-love. So we getting hit upside our head both ways, whether it's through another race, and then it leads back to our race. So that's kind of where that comes from.
So, Fidel, how do you turn this around? How do you turn it around?
I just told you, you got to catch the kid, the baby coming out the mother's womb, and we have to have a black liberation class. Young lady, give me that baby. Come on. We're going to teach them from day one. Love who you look like. Love yourself. Love the others. Do business with each other. Don't let nobody break that. You got then you have a generation that's knowledgeable, and then you can pass that on to their kids, to their grandkids, so on. What you got out here, and this is what I see, you got the guys in the streets, and then you got the corporate guys, your Charlie Becks, Kevin Orr, and all them guys. They come in here, sell you out, and go live somewhere lavishly. Or you got the guys in the street, the middle class people. They catching hell. So we getting hit upside our head.
And I like what you say about self-love, because there is this thing in our culture where people often kind of slip over from benevolence into altruism, into self-hate, somehow thinking that people need to be selfless and against their own interests. And really it is in people's own interest to be rational and to be moral and to be nonviolent.
Doesn't it come down to some of it, though, they're people's parents? I mean, you can't have the government right there when a baby's born.
Listen to me, gentlemen. We're not taught that. The Christian church would tell y'all that, but in actuality, that's not what's going on. If you think I'm lying, all you got to do is watch the channel news every day. This is what you're going to get. A black person kills another black person. Another black person rapes another black person. Some white man have got tax breaks on this. Every single day, that's what you're going to get. I done also seen this, gentlemen. I'm going to let you guys go. You got to take a similar crime. One happened in Detroit, which is going to be mainly black. One can happen in Upper North. Similar crimes. The guy in Detroit going to get 15 to 30. When the judge and the prosecutor that happened up north, they're going to say, well, get this little white boy 1 to 5, give him another opportunity. So we see this.
You know what, Fidel? You know what, Fidel? We got an officer right now just lost his life in the line of duty. And this perpetrator that opened fire on DPD officer, this man should have never been on the streets. And he should have never had he should have never been on the streets, man. This should never happen in Detroit or any other city in America.
There's a Christian mother with a Christian church, with a pastor know this. That's what I'm trying to tell you. He know this. He don't care about that. He care how much time you gonna get today. He know this. He know these older guys messing with these girls and boys now. He know this. That's what I'm trying to explain to you. I agree with you.
And for the community, and for the listening community out there, if you know somebody's out there committing crimes, you know somebody's out there doing wrong, notify the Detroit Police Department. They want to know. Because guess what? This person should never been on the streets.
I'm going to tell you like this. I also live in a society where the judicial system says
this person should have never been on the streets, and we'll still have a police officer serving in his community.
Okay. Well, last thoughts here, Fidel. I'm sorry, what?
Can I say this real quick?
Yeah, go ahead. Last thoughts.
That police officer, he was armed. I'm more for the family that was unarmed and got
He was ambushed. He was ambushed. I mean,
I'm more for the person that was unarmed. So, again, we getting hit upside our head. You got the guy in the street that shot, but you also got police officers that shoot unarmed black men at an enormous rate. You cannot have it both ways. You cannot feel sorry for this man.
But we have not seen that in the Detroit PD as prevalent as perhaps you've seen it nationally. Okay, Fidel, we appreciate it. Have a great Sunday. We got a number of callers. We appreciate it. Barbara, you're on with the panel?
Yes. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah. Last week I called in. You had George Hunter on, and I made some comments about him, and Mr. Burton chimed in to support him wholeheartedly. And I think that's problematic when you are a police commissioner and Mr. Hunter is a Detroit police beat reporter. you're supposed to scrutinize his writings more than anyone else because your job is to look into police citizens incidents. And I can give you several examples of where Mr. Hunter has been slanted, biased, and all of that, but we won't get into that.
Wait, Barbara, let's start with the premise that all reporters have a bias. It's whether professionally how good they are of writing without that bias. Everybody comes with a bias because that's how you've been raised and what your background is.
That's what I'm commenting on. When it's extreme bias, you have to be able to read between the lines, and we need people in positions to be more astute when it comes to making comments like that.
Miss Barbara, what you like to share with this morning? What you like to share with on the show? What you like to share? What you like to discuss?
Pardon me? I also talked about Mr. Driver, who was killed, the Muslim man in his home by police flashbanging in his home in the middle of the night. I said mistakenly that the police said he shot at them, but he did not. They claim he was sitting there holding an assault rifle. But the articles reported, which this happened last year, said that it was being investigated by MSP. We haven't heard anything else. This is what I mean by follow-up. Chief Craig claims he went in front of the police commissioner and explained that it's on video that the man was sitting there holding an assault rifle. We never heard anything about it. The same feeling that I feel about those police officers who were shot, I'm saddened by that. I'm saddened by Mr. Driver and his death. But see, Mr. Driver doesn't get any follow-up, no solution to the problem.
Barbara.
Or whatever happened, was it substantiated? They went in that man's
Barbara,
home.
Were they using the fact that he was sitting in his own home holding his own gun as an excuse to shoot him?
Yeah, this is what they claim.
Well, that's not an excuse to shoot him. He's not doing anything wrong if he's just sitting in his own home holding his own gun.
Mr. Burton can answer that. Did he see video of Mr. Driver holding a gun?
Okay, first of all, Mr. Burton isn't the one investigating the incident, so it's unfair to say that a police commissioner is supposed to reach in and start to distort any type of investigation that goes on.
No, I'm not saying distort it. I'm saying present to the public. I mean, he gives us information on his falling out of the chair at the hands of police. I mean, that might be important, but so is Mr. Driver.
He was pulled out of his chair.
Yeah, we're not going to go into that today. But Miss Barbara, what I can say is this: is that that case have not came before the Detroit Board of Police Commissioners, so it's not in our hands. And if you mention that, well, it's not in our hands now. So our office is not looking into that case as of yet that I know of.
I don't understand. That happened in September of 2018.
Well, if there's an investigation going on and it's in the hands of Michigan State Police Department, well, right now they doing their thorough research or investigation or whatever. So it's not in our hands. You mentioned that.
How long should that take? Over a year? That you hear nothing from media, nobody.
Investigations can be ongoing, but that's not in the Board of Police Commissioners.
I'm sure that Commissioner Burton can ask what the progress is on the investigation with the Michigan State Police.
I can.
Let him ask, and then they'll come back with an answer.
Let me ask, and once I get an answer back from the city, I will be happy to share with the community and give the community update.
All right, Barbara. Well, thanks for calling, and we appreciate it. Have a great Sunday. Reggie, you're on with the panel. Reggie?
Good morning, Bob.
Good morning.
Your co-host.
Good morning.
Hey, look, in terms of this shooting, I'd like to ask Commissioner Burton, has there been an immediate critique of the incident?
You talking about the slain police officer?
Yes.
Well, right now, to my understanding, the person is happens to be in police custody, the perpetrator. But we have had too many incidents where officers have been shot and killed in the line of duty here in the city of Detroit, and it shouldn't happen here. It shouldn't happen anywhere.
Commissioner, my question is, has there been an immediate critique of the incident?
Well, there's got to be an investigation of it. When you say critique, you're making it sound like, okay, what'd you do right and wrong. The investigation actually reveals the facts as they unfolded and the incident occurred. I mean, you shouldn't be going in looking for a right or wrong. You should be going in and saying, what are the facts and how did they unfold where this incident actually happened? That's what a true investigation is supposed to do.
Well, an immediate critique, immediately when people hear something, everyone starts thinking about, or a lot of people start thinking about what could have been done differently. And so I guess that's an immediate critique, but an immediate critique isn't necessarily going to be the right one.
Yeah, but my second point is, with this critique, along with the critique, you review the policy in this situation. Was the policy, how you handle this type of situation, was it followed? And then you make the necessary adjustments. Okay. Now we know that all the officers on the Detroit Police Department are not trained as well as trained to the level of the SWAT team members. And so, you know, we may have, this is why I'm saying we need to have an immediate critique, because if a lawsuit came up, and you all know it, if a lawsuit came up, wrongful death, this officer getting shot in the leg or ankle or whatever, then if the policy of the police department was not followed, then immediately that's going to cause the city to lose the lawsuit, and the citizens of Detroit will have to pay this money.
Reggie, there are factors we don't know. If somebody's life in that house was in immediate danger because of the gunman, at that point, the police are going to react to that and try to save that life.
Everyone was outside. The police officers were told everyone is out of the house. The only person in the house is the gunman. The four policemen, to our understanding, they entered the house, they cleared the first floor, they cleared the second floor or upstairs. There's only one place else he's going to be in the home. Armed, he's in the basement. So why not just surround the home and call SWAT in? SWAT can flashbang, they can put tear gas in. He's coming out. I mean, if he's in the basement and the proper procedure is followed, where is he going?
Well, Brother Reggie, the investigation is still going on. Right now, I don't have any comment on this as far as at this point.
Okay.
But once I get some updated information, I'll be happy to share and report out to the community. But one of the things that I do like to add, though, is that somebody knew this perpetrator. They knew that he was on parole. They knew he was a felon. They knew he was playing with guns and messing around with young women, young teenage girls. Why they didn't call police? Why they didn't notify the authorities?
Yeah.
This guy could have been picked up off the streets a long time ago. But the community didn't report out and say, hey, this guy's messing with young girls. This guy is playing with guns. This guy is violent. This guy is on parole. You know,
when the community he shot at the house before.
Well, the thing about it is the community did not speak up, and somebody in the community very much knew this guy, knew this perpetrator.
Here's the other thing.
And if someone from the community would have spoke up, guess what? We would still have our officer right here today serving in this community.
That's true. Let me say this, Commissioner. Do you know of any other, or you too, Bob, or anybody on that panel, do you know of any other major city in the United States where the police chief is holding down another city position?
No, I have to admit, I don't know any place else that occurs.
Yeah, we've both been critical of that. And in fact, yesterday at the Charter Commission meeting, we were going over suggestions of revisions to the charter, and that's one of them, that the chief of police should hold no other position in city government other than chief of police.
That's good. Commissioner, take my number, 313-399.
I'll tell you what, we're going to put you on hold because he doesn't have a pen in front of him, or you want to put it in your phone. Go ahead. What is it?
313.
Okay.
399-8290. That's the number of Detroiters United, LLC.
Okay.
and I'm the president, and you'll be speaking directly to me. I give you some insight. We need to get rid of this police chief, James Craig.
Okay. All right, Reggie. Thanks for calling in. We appreciate it. Have a great Sunday.
Right now, what we need to get rid of is these folks out here playing with guns, shooting at police officers. We shouldn't have that. We should not have that here in the city of Detroit or anywhere else in the country. To the listeners this morning, if you know someone out there that's on parole and they're in contact with a gun, notify your local police department. They want to know who that person is. Right now, we lost a good officer, a decorated officer, 18-year veteran, had a family. And all of this could have been prevented if only one person could have called in with a tip and said, hey, this person is on parole.
Okay.
This person got a gun. This person committed other crimes.
Well, we have a number of callers who want to talk to us about that. Let's go on with Weedy. Weedy, you're on here with the panel. Hello?
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
Hello?
Right. Your time up. What's going on?
Okay. First, I wanted to send my condolences to the police commissioner there.
Thank you.
I appreciate your service, and our city is known to us in here at the zoo, and y'all protect us actually. So I want all the listeners to understand that they should say thank you every time they see y'all. That's where I want to start first of all. It's a men's meeting at the 3rd precinct every first of the Monday. I think that needs to get promoted.
Weedy?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, your phone's cutting in and out. Go ahead.
Okay, sorry about that. Can you hear me now?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. It's a men's meeting at the first of the month at the 3rd precinct every Monday, and don't nobody know about that. I think that need to get promoted a little bit more. Like for real, that's a solution. And just like I say, I live in the community, I live in the trenches, and the rec centers need to get opened back up ASAP. They need to get opened back up ASAP. Ficano, you worked in the city, you did all this. That's the thing you need to do. The police commissioner, y'all listening, the community, they listening, we listening now. And this need to happen ASAP. You can have police sit up there. You can have a green light. You can just, that's number one. That need to happen ASAP. Number two, you need to employ kids ASAP. All they see is everything that's on TV, and they're not listening to their mama. Let's be real. They're not listening to their mamas. They're not listening to their daddies. They see flashy.
It's worse than TV. It's what they hear on social media. I mean, they're more plugged into that than anything else.
It's all that. You're right. It's all that. So they need to employ them first. At these rec centers, you need to employ them first and show them, like, you can make money and buy that. You don't have to do all of this, everything else that you see, and all of this that you hear on social media. Everything you're saying is right. It start right there.
A lot of rec centers are open. I was at one yesterday.
Yeah, some of them are starting to open back up if they can do it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, if they can employ the community and the kids and get a lot of them back open, that'll help out a lot.
Okay, Weedy, we appreciate it. We got a number of callers. Thanks for calling in. You have a great Sunday.
Weedy, thanks for calling again, and I absolutely agree with you. We got to open up these rec centers, man, and please reach out.
Give them an alternative to the.
Please reach out to the Board of Police Commissioners office. I would love to stay in touch with you, and any listening audience have any solutions as well. How we can reduce violence in the city of Detroit, but also offer more opportunities for Detroiters. My number is 313-596-1830. That's the number to the Board of Police Commissioners. You can ask to leave a message with Commissioner Willie Burton.
Bruce, you're on with the panel here.
Good morning, fellas.
Good morning.
You know, I would just like to talk about a little bit about the corporations coming back. to the city and getting tax incentives. I think it's always good to give tax incentives to bring corporations and to offer jobs and opportunity to the city. But what I don't like, it seems like it's a one-way street. Anytime you come into the city, you should invest in that city. You could breed a breeding ground for talent and untapped talent for your benefit, not just coming in to take, but coming in to invest. And so I think it's good. And you shouldn't be able to circumvent policy and laws by, hey, we'll eat this fine because we don't want certain people to work here anyway, rather than meeting the criteria to be required to hire the citizenry of Detroit. So everybody should participate, from the liquor stores, from the gas stations, from the black church. Everybody that comes in here and profit and seems to get rich off of poor people should be required to give back. And then you wouldn't have to have bulletproof glass from floor to ceiling, but to come get your money, but you still coming in here and then have the nerve to complain about crime and the environment. And that goes from everybody, from the big corporations to the liquor stores. You should give back and invest, and then quit being fearful to come in here, but you're not that scared to come in here and set up dispensaries, shops, and always taking. So you need to feed it with libraries, recreation centers, and then you will see a more peaceful, a more civil community for everybody. But don't act like it's not two Detroits, and it is two Detroits.
You know what, Bruce, I agree with you 110%, man. Brother, I'm with you. You know, we have to have local, state, and federal officials, elected officials, coming together to work together, and far as tax breaks and incentives, those can be a good thing, but they has to be able to work for all people, not just for the few. Look at the businesses over on Livernois. They struggling, man.
Right.
Yeah. Should those businesses be struggling while enterprises over there in downtown, like in Illichville and where Gilbert's got things built up, things that those get special breaks? That, for instance, Caesars Arena ends up getting tax breaks at the expense of the library budget, while the businesses in Livernois are being wiped out by all these unwanted construction projects.
Well, but the question is, okay, so you don't give them the tax break. Do you want to continue on with Joe Louis Arena? I mean, that was one of the issues that's the trade-off that you look sometimes. Would you rather have a new Caesars Arena that's going to, there are a lot of people employed there, and there was at Joe Louis too, but is that worth the trade-off? That, first of all, look at all the construction jobs that did happen because they built Little Caesars Arena. And at the same time, if people don't want that, you want to just keep the old landmarks that are there, and, how do you change it?
And see, Bob, that's why these town hall meetings are so important. But you got to have the local, state, and federal elected officials, communicate more with the public and having these town hall meetings. We're talking about tax breaks, talking about, different incentives for a small business or mid-sized business or large corporation coming in, and we gotta have these conversations.
And these businesses are feeding on things. I mean, don't forget, it was 25, 30 years ago that people were really complaining that the Palace was out in Auburn Hills, that the Pontiac Silverdome was out in Pontiac. So if you want to attract them back, you probably got to make some type of effort for that to occur. And I know it's disputable about how much economic drive they have with hiring people and things like that, but they do hire people. I mean, that is the bottom line. They do have people that work at those institutions.
You know what, Bob? You know what I realized though? I was looking at some data the other day, and I noticed that when you were the sheriff during your 20-year period of time, handing out thousands and thousands of gun safety locks, I noticed how violence was down then compared to...
Yeah, well, at that time, there was a lot of youngsters that were picking up the guns and playing with them, and then unfortunately they were accidentally shooting other members of their family or friends and stuff that were visiting. Bruce, any last comment here before we go to another caller? Bruce?
Bruce.
Okay.
I'm here.
Oh, any last comment here, real quick?
Yeah, I think we should start treating people like men and women. Look, this time out for the jobs are one thing, that's good, but I think they should be required to offer long-term investments, meaning education. As long as you be here, you should be able to invest in the community and create a breeding ground for your own benefit. So I think forget jobs are one thing, but high turnover, people go out of jobs because a lot of the jobs are for young adults. People go out of that.
Bruce, so one of the keys is having an ability to create wealth within your family or with your family. And that's one of the, I mean, that goes beyond getting a job. That goes to someone being able to create wealth. And I think we have to look at that as well. I mean, it's great to get a job. I'm not downplaying that whatsoever. But if you don't create, you've got to have people that want to have the ability to create wealth for themselves and for others. They you know, people want to be the next Amazon. People want to be, you know, the next entrepreneur to be able to do something.
In closing, to really close up, to close up, it would cut out a lot of police shootings and a lot of violence if we start there.
You got to address the violence, the poverty. That's what it comes down to.
All tied together.
Exactly.
But you can't ignore this and think that, without jobs, people are going to be peaceful. When you tie it all together, it will lessen all of that, the violence also.
Yo, Bruce, you absolutely right, brother. Yeah. We got the fight crime, grow jobs, small business, entrepreneurship, summit. It's coming. It's coming up. Exactly.
December 5th.
It's coming up December 5th at the Michigan State University building, right there in Midtown, 3404 Woodward Avenue. The program starts at 5 o'clock. It's open to the public. It's a free event. SBA, SCORE, Detroit Economic Growth, and so many others there will be helping small business owners, through the Fight Crime Grow Jobs Small Business Summit. So it's open for anybody in the city of Detroit.
Okay, Bruce, thanks. We're going to get to one more caller right before the break. Thanks.
And one thing I wanted to bring up real quick is, we're talking about subsidies to help businesses, but as you pointed out, people need to be able to make their own money in the city, and we have impediments right now. Our city government is, while they're offering breaks to one business, they're actually putting up barriers preventing businesses from growing in the city. They're blocking certain types of retail businesses from being able to open shop at all. They're like trying to stop Airbnb, so people who are trying to, help pay for their buildings can't do it now that were previously getting people to temporarily rent in there. So there's all these barriers the city is building to keep money out of the city, to keep small businesses from opening in the city while they're giving tax breaks to other corporations.
One last caller here before we go to break. Rick, you're on with the panel.
Hey, good morning. You guys brought up so many issues. I'll try to speed through real quickly. I agree with Barbara, Fidel, Bruce, and I think one of the other callers, not Mr. Paucity, but you see, our value is not there. We need to be able to speak for ourselves. I don't want somebody speaking for me. I don't want somebody to come into the conversation and say, hey, it goes like this based on, their personal experience. That's not workable. The fact that they would still be trying that on us Detroiters in 2019 in itself shows we've been remiss, because there are a lot of people who are co-conspirators to polluting the minds of young people and the adults that are here right now. When you talk about organizing and fixing the problem, where you start is going to make a difference, because that's when you start making people accountable. You can't start solving the problem just at the point of these youth today or this generation today. When you do that, you at least should admit that you're undermining a great part of the problem by failing to properly define and get a harmony of definition of what's going on. And that's an issue. And we rely too much on one-hit wonders to do too much. People do one thing for the people, and you can't carry these people for 5-10 years because they do one thing. I say stop it. 5 minutes of fame is 5 minutes after that. It's what have you done for us lately, and what are you doing for us now? It's the mission of these people that we got to work with. That is their key part, not their resume, not the other stuff, but what problem are they going to work on and what is their solution to it, because we keep organizing
from the issue down instead of from the first party claim up, and that means me and people like me on the bottom, we never get addressed because the line starts at the front, and we want to change where the line starts. Make3.com. Thank you.
Hey, big brother. Thanks, Rick. I'll tell you what, we got to go to break. We're way over here. We're going to have Brandon Bryce that's going to join us. To all the rest of the callers, hold on. We're going to get to you right after the break and get some comments here from Brandon Bryce, who, by the way, starting December 3rd, is going to have his own show right here at 9:10 a.m. We will be right back.
This is Reverend Sharpton, and on the last Keeping It Real with Reverend Al Sharpton.
Oh, I just don't count the votes. They're not there with the vote. They just get
I just answered you before, sir, that I know thousands of people that are in the rooms when the votes come in. Every candidate has people in the room. When I've run, I have people in the room. Everybody running is going to have people in the room when the count comes in. The question is making sure we get the right count. The count does not come from them counting ballots. The count comes through technology. This is not 1890. We're not having people at the courthouse standing in line or the schoolhouse and you see the ballot. The question is making sure you have the right voting companies, that they're not hacked or not in any way eliminated. You could have everybody in the world in the room. They will be in the room getting the wrong numbers. So keep it real daily with me, Al Sharpton.
When I grow up, I want to be a new pair of blue jeans. When I grow up, I want to be a kid's first computer. I want to be football I want to be a bike that races around the country. I want to be a bench on a forest trail. When I grow up, I don't want to be a piece of garbage. And if you recycle me, I won't be.
Give your garbage another life. Recycle. Learn how at iwanttoberecycled.org. Brought to you by Keep America Beautiful and the Ad Council.
Over Steph Curry. Antoine Davis is an NCAA record breaker.
Hey fans, get ready for another season of Detroit Mercy basketball. All the action returns to WADL and 9:10 AM Superstation. Your home for Titan Hoops. Season tickets start at just $100 and game tickets are just $10. For more information, visit Callahan Hall or call 313-993-1700.
Hi, I'm Hunter Ellis, and this is Atomic Beam USA, another bright idea from Bulbhead, the ultra-bright, tough-grade flashlight that features tactical technology used by U.S. Special Forces. This flashlight has a feeble 125 lux output. The Atomic Beam USA has up to 5,000 lux. That's 40 times more. We're going to drop it hundreds of feet from this helicopter. It hits the tarmac, and it's still working. That's what I call a tough flashlight. Heavy downpours, mud puddles, even extreme temperatures are no match. You could spend over $100, or the Atomic Beam USA can be yours for just $19.99 with free lifetime guarantee. Order now, you can double it and get a second Atomic Beam USA. Just pay a separate fee, and we'll even ship them to you for free. Atomic Beam USA is just $19.99. Order now.
Call 1-800-638-2619 to get your Atomic Beam USA. Call now or go to atomicbeam.com. So call 1-800-638-2619. Deluxe version available. Order now.
We all love fried food, but the problem is all that excess oil and fat can cause you to become overweight. Well, now there's the Cook Light Aero Fryer, an amazing kitchen miracle that uses air to fry instead of oil, so you can have the same delicious flavor and crispiness of deep frying using little or no oil. Get that deep fried taste and crispiness with up to 70% fewer calories. Enjoy crispy, delicious fries with little or no oil, guilt-free onion rings, cheesy and delicious mozzarella sticks. Call now and bring the Cook Light Aero Fryer into your home, including the Cook Light Aero Fryer recipe book, the unique patented dual tray, air frying mesh basket and tongs, and stainless steel extender ring. You'll get it all for 5 easy payments of $29.95. Be one of the first 500 callers and get this 13-piece knife set, a $175 value, yours free. Try Cook Light Aero Fryer for 30 days. If you don't love it, send it back. But keep the 13-piece knife set as our gift to you. Order in the next 10 minutes and we'll include free shipping. Call now or go online to air2fry.com. That's air2fry.com.
I knew I could get myself out of this. I just needed some hope and some help.
I took the first step to recovery when I made the call.
Since 2014, Addiction Hope and Helpline has answered calls for recovery and treatment 24/7, 365 days a year.
If you're depressed, drinking, using drugs, or taking pills, call now and talk to someone who cares.
I had problems just getting to sleep, drinking and using pills every night.
I feel like I'm losing control. I'm afraid I'll lose my job or even my family.
Most insurance covers substance abuse. You can get back on track. Call now for hope and help with proven gentle recovery programs.
I never thought that I could be somebody who didn't drink and use drugs.
I have something to hold on to for strength. I'm in recovery, getting the help I need.
Call 800-379-4799, 800-379-4799.
Three, one.
You're listening to 910 AM Superstation. We're the hottest station in town. Whatever you need, it's right here on 910 AM Superstation. The most powerful voices in the urban community. You're listening to 910 AM Superstation.
The best in the city.
WFDF Farmington Hills, Detroit. 910 AM Superstation, a division of Adele Media.
Up out of there.
Ain't nothing but a gangsta party. You the two of a man, is more one than the same. I can play to the same. Ain't nothing but a gangsta party.
Okay, you're listening to 910 AM, the Superstation. You can join us. We have a number of callers here this morning, 313-778-7600. We're joined today by Brandon Bryce, who is going to have his own show here on 910 AM, political consultant. A lot of stuff going on, including with the shooting of the police officer. Brandon, welcome to 910 AM, and congratulations on your new show that's going to start.
Thanks for having me, Bob.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
What?
All right, appreciate it.
When is it? December 3rd, and what's your time slot?
December 3rd, Monday through Friday, 1 to 3 p.m. It's time to tell the truth. So I'm excited. We're going to talk about law and order, the things that we need to talk about in our city. And so, my show is Straight Talk. We've got some great guests that are lined up. And I'm just really excited for Detroit to finally have, a real voice on what's going on the city, county, state, and federal level.
Great. Well, just there's a lot going on. If you just opened up the Free Press this morning, and we did it through the website, is a lot of issues that are facing the mayor right now, including with the shooting and everything else that's been involved. Right. But it looks like, and I was surprised that the council did not go along with this $250 million bond proposal that, for the blighted homes. And it looks like that the council is pushing back, and there are a number of issues now that he's going to have to juggle more balls in terms of building back some trust with the city. The article in the Free Press this morning is all about trust and how the trust has really had a real difficult time because of the emails being, erased and things like that. So what's your view on all this, and can he build back that trust, Brandon?
Well, Bob, speaking of, your intro music was Tupac, Ain't Nothing But a Gangsta Party. And I think that's unfortunately what we're seeing on the city and the state and the federal level. Here's the deal. I'm not necessarily a fan of the mayor, but I respect the mayor's work. I think the city's finally in the right direction. The challenge is, I think that bond was critical to the city's overall longevity and the redevelopment. But the challenge is, I'm kind of with the council, and we've got questions on this small amount of money that you've got with the demo and the demolition projects, then, why would we give you more money to do, these projects if you can't necessarily utilize the funding that you got? And so, I was very shocked because this city council has been very lock in step with this mayor thus far. But I think you're starting to see a pushback, and not only just there, but, talking about, mentioned earlier about the slain officer. I mean, we got a real problem in our streets. I've always said this, that, we need a zero tolerance policy when it comes to the safety of Detroit residents. And quite frankly, we can't cover up the fact that with all the new development and all the great things happening in the city of Detroit,
Detroit still has major problems. We can't put a Band-Aid on a bullet shot wound.
You're right. Okay, we have a number of callers lined up here, and they want to dive into these subjects here. Just real quick on the national scene, do you think that the impeachment hearings hurt President Trump or not, or do you think that you don't think it did?
I think it's completely hogwash, and I think it's nothing but political theater. The irony thing that the Dems haven't quite realized or figured out is that the more press time you give this guy, the stronger you make his campaign and the wider you grow his base. If they're going to do something, then do it. The guy already admitted he was in the wrong. What else are we talking about? So all these interviews, all these hearings, all this political theater, I think it's just a waste of the American people's time, and it's getting closer to the election that literally Republicans have the argument to say, rather than impeach the guy, just vote him out.
Trump admits he was in the wrong?
Well, his transcript shows that it was that Latin term of quid pro quo, but did he, in exchange for the military aid going to...
The reality, Bob, the phone call was made. I mean, we can't argue that.
I thought he said it was a perfect call. How is that admitting he was wrong?
In his eyes, it was perfect. The rest of the world, it isn't, actually, the way it's set up. Okay, we have a number of callers. Cass, you're on with the panel, and Mr. Brandon Bryce. Cass?
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
I'd just like to say I've been listening to the conversation this morning. There's a lot going on, but at a point we have to look at ourselves, and the solution, I think, starts in the community. Nobody's going to come in and save us and make it right. I think the male role in the community is a huge factor, okay, because I know what I'm dealing with. I'm a city resident, and the issues that I'm dealing with, the males in the community, they condone certain illegal type behaviors because it doesn't affect them, like the marijuana, liquor, guns, and predatory behavior towards women, stuff like that. They look at it, and it's like a camaraderie type of approach to it, until something happens, and then they start talking about it, and that's it. But we have to start to clean up our own backyard, our own block, start on our own block before we can go downtown and do anything. I think the community is first. Focus on your own community, and the people in the community, they're really participants in making a lot of stuff
possible. Are you familiar with local radio patrols?
Local radio patrols? No, I don't listen to anything.
No. I think he means...
Yeah, a lot of community members do, and it might be something you might want to look into. A lot of community members have organized radio patrols, and they actually have,
they're volunteers that look out,
and
they volunteer and they look out within the community.
Wait a minute, guys. Radio controls are going to help you against a firearm. These guys out here in the streets have guns.
Well, I'm talking about being eyes and ears, not directly confronting.
Yeah, but eyes and ears on Mac and Bewick doesn't quite do the job.
Well, we have an app.
Supposedly, the police would show up when the eyes and ears report something.
Yeah, that's one of the issues.
We have an app called Next Door. I think that's something similar. Every time something happens, there's, we're talking about it, but as far as community involvement goes, there is none, okay? We're spectators in our own community, just watching.
What, do you say that because of lack of trust or transparency? I mean, that's been the argument that you've heard anywhere from the bond issue and everything else. Do you think people just don't trust their city government?
I think that's an issue, but I'm dealing with a situation where, people don't trust the city government, but people don't trust the other people. I'm talking about upstanding, law-abiding citizens on their block. Okay, people don't trust them to just not go in the house and close the door. Okay, you see something happening, you run. I don't mean gun violence. I mean more social type activities where you have, for example, you have a car full of young people sitting outside drinking and smoking weed and partying, basically partying on the block, that type of thing, and a lot of traffic. And instead of coming and sit on your porch, you know, they go in the house. Instead of walking up and down the street, walking your dogs, taking a walk, you know, we're running to the house. And I think what I'm seeing is that there's a lot of condoning by the men in the community, where I'm talking about upstanding citizens, but this is where it starts, you know, where the men sort of condone all this type of behavior until somebody gets killed or and then they come out after the fact and talk about it, and that's it. You know, I'm saying that
you know,
police presence, police presence is an issue, but male presence is also an issue.
So, Miss, okay. I can speak to one of the issues that you have here is that you know, I'm not sure what local precinct you live in the city of Detroit, but I will.
12th precinct, 48221.
Okay, so the 12th precinct has a strong, active police community relations meeting. You know, I encourage you and others to plug into that. I'm not sure if you are or not, but get to know your neighborhood police officer, your NPO, you know, and try and build a relationship with that person, you know, as far as a working relationship on the community front. I think that would be a good way to start. Another thing is the city of Detroit, the police department has an app. It's called DPD Connect. It allows you to see what crimes are happening in the area. It allows you to see who the NPOs for each precinct. It allows you to be able to call and text or leave a voice message with your NPO. Definitely be very mindful what you say, you know, on you know, or anyone when you call your precincts. I know that a lot of times Detroiters, callers may have a lot of issues, a lot of frustration. They just want to let it out. They want to vent. But be very mindful what you say. But more importantly, build that relationship with the precinct, with your local precinct, because guess what? When Chief Craig started the neighborhood police community relations, along with the neighborhood police officers, you know, 4 NPOs, neighborhood police officers for each precinct, that's to have more visibility in the neighborhoods.
Yeah, but one of the issues, though, is like in this last incident, people did participate. A 16-year-old did go to the police and said, this guy has a gun, this guy's shooting up the house and things like that. I think where people get queasy about it is that he still, 2 weeks later, was able to kill a police officer because they never did pick him up with, you know, the warrants that were out there.
My theory about that is that they knew who he was, and they knew that he was soon to be off of parole, and he probably had to report, and they probably were going to just nab him when he went there. So that's what my theory is, and it just backfired on him. Thanks for taking my call.
Okay, thanks, Cass. Brandon, what were you going to say?
The investigation is still pending.
This is an interesting conversation because in our state, we are one of the very few states that literally it almost appears that the laws are written to protect the criminals. If you are at your house and someone is stealing your car, literally, and you see them, there's very little you can do because the laws have, what have happened is that the laws have literally protected criminals where if you attack that person, now you have to actually be the one who deals with the issue, not the criminal.
Yeah, technically what happens if you confront them and they start to run away, you shoot them in the back, you're going to have a problem. If you confront, you shoot them in the front.
This is absurd. And what we're seeing is that, you know, this law and order thing in places like certain areas in our city has just gotten ridiculous. You know, one of the things is, and even Chief Craig admitted that, you know, hey, we're talking about the, you know, the community. We're talking about different calls that the community wants to make to keep our neighborhood safe. I think we need to go back to the Wild Wild West.
Because if we go back to the Wild Wild West...
No. Brandon, that might be a little bit too wild there.
No. I heard the Wild West wasn't quite so wild.
Wait. Don't get into the semantics. Most criminals will say, you know what? I'm not going to run up in that house because I don't know what Miss Pearl is holding behind that door.
Well, they can still have a gun in their house. I mean, nothing prevents them from having it. I mean, unless you're a felon or something.
Brandon, you sound like you must be holding your Republican membership card.
It has nothing to do with... Hold on. Let me be very clear. We're not talking about partisanship. See, that's the issue here. We're talking about how do we keep Detroiters safe.
Yeah, that's a big issue.
Well, you know, and I think one thing that comes to mind is there might be a lot of laws regarding how one deals with a criminal when you're a victim of a crime. I think the other thing we got to keep in mind is we do have, trial by jury of one's peers. And I think if a person is really looks like they were struggling to protect themselves from crime and then ends up going to trial because of that, I think that person, if they have a jury trial, may well find a jury that's more sympathetic with them than the prosecution's case against them.
Well, that's for the defense counsel to try to figure out and guide them through.
Scotty, all that stuff is great. We need Rambo citizens. That's what we need.
Okay. We got one last call before the break here. Barbara, you're on.
We need to fight poverty.
Barbara, you're on.
Yes, hello. Thanks for taking my call again,
Sure.
Gentlemen. I just wanted to say that when you're putting out information over 50,000 watts, you have an obligation to be more factual in what you present. And I'm glad you came out, Mr. Ficano, and said that this guy who shot the police officers, the Detroiters did go to the police and report it over and over again because Mr. Burton is saying we're the problem because nobody's reported this guy. Even Chief Craig has come out and apologized to Detroiters and the family of these officers because they dropped the ball. These are his words. So when you're reporting in that vein, you need to have the facts because this is how we keep having the finger pointed at Detroiters because people are always willing to jump on the bandwagon and support anything that's negative against us. And when we elect you to look out for us, you have more of an obligation to check the facts.
You know what, ma'am?
Blaming us.
Ma'am, no one's blaming anyone, but what I can say is this, is that
Well, you said because Detroiters didn't report him. And then the 16 years old is the age of consent in Michigan. So that's not a crime.
Well,
so you might not like the fact that he was dating a young girl, but 16 is the age of consent.
I think it was implied that he was dating her much sooner than when she was 16.
I think the issue there is simply that it's a red flag that there may be issues coming up there, not necessarily that he be prosecuted specifically for that.
Well, number one is the guy should have never been on the streets. Number one. Number two, where do a felon, gets a gun when he doesn't have a job? You see what I'm saying? You see the connection there? Another thing is no one blamed Detroiters, ma'am. And
he was killed because we didn't speak out. No Detroiters speak out.
Hold on, we all are Detroiters here.
True.
Well, ma'am,
that's not true.
Yeah, ma'am, we're not going to argue with you this morning, but we do appreciate you calling all the time. Please call. Yes. Yeah. So, but I want to say this. Mental health is a big issue here in the city of Detroit, across the state of Michigan. We got to say that Governor John England, when he was the governor, he closed 16 mental health hospitals, leaving a series of mentally ill out here. You know what I'm saying? We lost 7, 8 officers in a very short period of time here in the city of Detroit since I've been a police commissioner, since 2014. How many more officers are we going to lose in this city? How many more officers are we going to lose in this country due to mental illness, and that the fact that we have not opening up these hospitals for these serious mentally ill people to be able to
the rest of the callers, hold on.
To get the help and support that they need.
Brandon, thanks for holding on to. If you can hold on through the break, we got to go to break right now. We're going to be right back to John, Tom, Tim, and Walter. Hold on, we're going to get to you after the break.
His music has touched your soul. Now you can
Experience it live and in person. See the one and only Anthony Hamilton live at Motor City Casino's Soundboard on November 24th. Get your tickets at Ticketmaster.com today.
Hi, I'm Joan London with A Place for Mom. Over the years, we've helped thousands of families find senior care, and today's senior living communities have never been better, with amazing amenities like movie theaters, exercise rooms and swimming pools, public cafes, bars and bistros, even pet care services. And nobody understands your options like the advisors at A Place for Mom. These are local expert advisors that will partner with you to find the perfect place and determine the right level of care, whether that's just a helping hand or full-time memory care. Best of all, it's a free service. Call today. A Place for Mom. You know your family, we know senior living. Together, we'll make the right choice.
Call A Place for Mom right now to get our free ebook on financing senior care, as well as a free referral for senior living communities in your area. Call 1-800-436-2907. That's 1-800-436-2907.
Listen up, America. Are you or a loved one suffering with an addiction to alcohol, opiates, prescription painkillers, or other drugs? There is hope. Medication-assisted treatment is proven most effective for opiate addiction recovery. Utilizing medications such as methadone, Suboxone, and Subutex, combined with inpatient treatment, you can achieve lasting recovery. Most insurance is accepted, so call us now. Please call 800-625-5860.
The 910 AM live stream can now be seen on Apple TV, Roku, Chromecast, YouTube Red, iPhone, iPad, Android phone, Android tablet, Amazon Kindle Fire, any Windows phone, or watch us live at 910amsuperstation.com.
Question: would you seat your 3-year-old child on a windowsill? And would you seat them in a car seat that's not the correct one? Secure their future. Seat them in the correct car seat. More info at safercar.gov/the-right-seat. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
If you're struggling to pay the mortgage, Making Home Affordable is a free government resource that can make it easier. Call 888-995-HOPE or visit makinghomeaffordable.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Treasury, HUD, and the Ad Council.
Good morning. You're listening to 910 AM, the Superstation. My name is Robert Ficano. I'm here with Scotty Boman, as well as Police Commissioner Willie Burton, and Brandon Bryce is our guest on the line as well. You can join us at 313-778-7600. Brandon, okay, so how do you make the city more transparent and open? Do you think that were you surprised by the city council's move this last Tuesday, and yet they can still bring it back this Tuesday if people aren't aware of that?
No, I mean, I wasn't shocked by the fact that, the reality is, Fox 2 and many of the media stations still refuse to talk about it, but our mayor's got some challenges. And the crazy thing is, I think, we have the city is finally moving in the right direction, I think, economically, based on, a lot of the business that's starting to come to our city, a lot of the new attractions. But the reality is this administration's got some serious problems. And so I think that was a pushback from city council saying, wait a minute, we've extended the olive branch many times over. We've got some issues to deal with internally before we go and give and issue out a new bond. But one thing, Bob, that I want to go back to that you mentioned, how do we make the city safe? Well, first of all, we got to realize we got some crazy folks in Detroit. And the reality is mental health is real. We've got folks who literally are undiagnosed and got some issues. And then put that on top of, we've got poverty. We've got one of the largest illiteracy rates in the nation. Education, regardless of what the school board is saying, it's abysmal in our city. We've got literally we've really got 3 great schools in Detroit. The rest of the schools have some major challenges, and we need to talk about it and be honest about it, Bob. So, I'm not surprised that these things are happening where citizens in Detroit don't feel safe. And so when we talk about how do we make sure that maybe we need to really talk about arming senior citizens and single women, I mean, we got some vultures out here that literally are not afraid to go back to jail, and that's the reality.
And you know what, Brandon Bryce, I absolutely agree with you. It seems like we all on the same page here this morning, apparently. But do you think that a symposium on poverty, mental health, should happen not at a later date, but more so sooner?
Well, I mean, listen, you can call it a symposium, you can call it a forum. I think we had a bunch of those. You know, I think we've had other radio show hosts who have tried to do that, and it's all fine and dandy, but, you know, when you're in the forum or you're in the community symposium, you know, Ray is literally trying to take your car outside. And so I think we've got to really talk about what are the real issues that we're having in our city and have straight talk about it.
Well, one of the things...
These are the things, hold on, guys, these are the things that I think the city needs to hear. Is we've got residents whose voices have not been heard. They don't feel safe. Every day in their neighborhood is a war zone. And so we need to realize that, you know, we've got some areas that's got some challenges. And the way we fix it is we need to put the fear of God back into the eyes of the criminals.
You know, when I got out of my house this morning to get ready for this show, someone had let air out of one of my tires and illegally dumped a bunch of garbage on my front lawn.
Yeah, it's
like, yeah, there are some issues, even that, you know, that clearly nothing violent there, but there's I mean, it's kind of a environment of disrespect.
That's Scotty Boman, y'all. He's the professor. They said, hold on.
Did you give somebody a bad grade? No. All right, let's
of course some people.
And I know this is serious. I mean, if you've been if you've been a victim of any type of crime, nobody likes it. Believe me. No. And you can cite all the statistics in the world that whatever's safe or isn't safe. If you're one of the 2% that got hit by a crime, you're not going to like it. Believe me. That's part of it. Okay, we have a number of callers here. Tim, you're on with the panel, including Mr. Bryce.
Good morning. I hear that, I think we went over this a couple of weeks ago, too. I've always advocated that the schools start involving the kids at a very young age, the rules and laws of our society, respect. They should be taught that. We need to change the curriculum. This needs to be mandatory throughout the country. But at least start here. We have our own school district here. The state is involved, and the NEA. I think we need to take that position and start addressing this, because just passing more laws, restricting my right to own a gun, and all these other things we're talking about, if you don't get to the problem, the root cause, just addressing the symptoms, like it's not going to work. You're going to spend billions of dollars, and it's going to be the same story over and over. It's been like this since I've been involved in listening to these types of topics. It's the same rhetoric over and over again. We need to spend more money in the schools. We need to do this. We need to do that. But we don't address the root cause.
Which is what the parent. You're saying it's the parents, or that they're not raising the children correctly, Tim?
Well, that's obvious. I mean, come on. We all know this. We see most of the parents today are checked out. So we need to, as a society, get the schools involved and teach curriculums when they're little kids. I'm talking about when the time that they get involved in this public education system, on honesty, integrity, respect, and we can, obviously, we're not going to have a mature level course description as a little kid, but they should be taught, and there's ways of doing this, taught and progressing as they get older, so that when they're in high school, they go to work, they're honest, they don't steal, they give the employer the full amount of work that they're being paid for. You know, not to steal, not to rob. That there's more value in life being honest and doing good work than there is taking the easy way.
So the education we're talking about really is philosophical then, right?
Well, I don't know if it's... I would not be philosophical.
He's saying changing the environment or culture of the home.
But he's talking about ethics, and that is a field of philosophy, and it's built on metaphysics, and it's built on epistemology, how one comes to know what one knows and how one knows it.
Okay, you're getting too sophisticated here. Okay.
Well, yeah, I mean, and whether you want to, it's the rules and laws of our society.
Yeah.
And whether you want to get philosophical and metaphysical about it or whatever you want to do, we need to be teaching right and wrong.
That's ethics.
You know, Bob, you just gave me an idea from this caller. We need to get with Ford Motor Company, because right now one of the biggest issues in our city is auto theft. I mean, let's be honest. We've got chop shops at many places.
It's been an issue for years, Brandon. A big issue.
But what if we designed a vehicle that literally, if the car does not identify you, it locks you in? Could you imagine that?
Hold on, that sounds like facial recognition, man.
Actually, I'd be afraid of getting locked in my car.
But what I'm saying is, one of the challenges that we have is that if people want to steal cars, then they should be allowed to be locked in until the owner or the police actually take their time to get there. Yeah, but so we have to be smarter and tougher.
I'll tell you what, Brandon, they'll break in then with a crowbar, and then they'll smash the windows to get out.
But it takes time to smash our windows, and that's the thing we got to look at, is how do we slow down the criminals in Detroit?
Well, this is how we do it, Brandon Bryce.
Again.
This is how we do it, gentlemen.
Okay, go ahead, Tim.
You're symptomizing it. We're addressing the after the fact. We need to get at the root cause.
Well,
we know that the kids today they're going to be very difficult to deal with. But the little young kids in the future, we need to start looking forward. That's how business, everybody operates that way. We have projections. We look forward. We see the future.
Okay.
This is what we need to do. If we don't do this, I think this battle's over with.
Okay. Tim, thanks for calling in. We have a number of callers we need to get to. Thanks. Have a great Sunday. Tom, you're on with the panel.
Yeah, good morning to all. It's like a potpourri right here in terms of where do you jump in, but I want to go back to Tim, and I don't like what I heard in terms of picking up this great big old broad brush and painting children and, people in the city. Now, I'll say this, and everything emanates at home, all right? He was talking about raising these kids, with respect and all that kind of stuff. Respect starts at home. They should learn that before they go to school. Now, don't get me wrong, and I understand that some folks, because of whatever, they don't give a doggone about respect, okay? What they say, nothing from nothing leaves nothing. And some of these kids, they come from very, very dysfunctional families. But, there are more, kids who come from decent families than from what I've just heard in terms of the broad brush being picked up and used. Now to this point with the woman who called from the 12th precinct, and I thought that Commissioner Burton was dead on point. She should get involved with the community relations. I'm the vice president of the Community Relations Council over here at number 2. And
awesome.
People in the listening audience, I call a police officer Detroit's finest. I said, you can, as they said in the rock opera, Tommy, see me, feel me, touch me. You can come in there, you can see the police, you can talk to the police. And we tell folks this, and I used to be over at number 8. I was vice president a long time ago over at number 8. If you've got a problem, depending upon what that problem is, we will not allow you to give an address of where this problem is. You can talk to the police in private, and hopefully you can get your, problem resolved. But, and that kind of thing. One more thing, and I'm going to leave it alone. This thing on the free press, all right, Duggan's blight bond exposes council rift. I mean, it was one disagreement. I mean, it was an ugly disagreement, but, it was a disagreement nonetheless. But for the most part, and I really never really understood this thing in terms of the mayor and council. It's probably even just like with the commissioners, meaning Wayne County commissioners and the executive. I've heard it a long time. It's like there's all of this rift, that's got to be between the two. The mayor proposes, and I heard Mary Ann Mahaffey say, God rest her soul, that the council disposes. They either voted up or they voted down. So, this is like a bump in the road and that kind of thing. And to this point, as far as what's going to happen, I think what is either tomorrow or Tuesday with this bond being brought back. Remember what happened with that emergency manager bill? The people voted to turn it down. And what did they do? They went in there and they changed some letters and some words around, and they dotted different I's and crossed different T's. and they put a period at the end of the sentence, and they got that emergency manager through, regardless of what the will of the people says.
Tom, you know, that's there's a little bit of distinction here because the emergency manager bill was mostly recrafted by Republicans outstate,
Right.
and this is the people on the council. The Detroiters can directly reach them by the ballot box. You know, some state rep in Temperance, Michigan, recrafting this isn't going to be reached because let's face it, it was much more passionate in Detroit in the Wayne County area versus outstate. And I think at this point now, what's a little bit different about the city council is that the people will have a direct access to them by the ballot box versus, like I said, some state rep in Temperance, Michigan saying we're going to redo the emergency manager law so that we can institute it again.
And, and I'm glad you brought up Tuesday because a lot of people think, oh, okay, it's all done. But it's not all done. And I wouldn't be surprised if this Tuesday a couple votes shift and the thing squeezes through. So people got to be attentive. And when people, vote to, pilfer another, basically $250 million from the hardworking people of Detroit who've been taxed enough already to demolish homes rather than bring in, new residents to occupy them, then we need to remember who those people are.
And one more thing from a historical perspective, and I do, respectfully to Mr. Burton, Chief Craig did not start the community relations councils. This came out after the '67 riot.
It came out of Coleman Young.
Father Cunningham started what was called a citywide, and these police community relations councils that are in each precinct, they fall up under the citywide umbrella. Okay, so they, the community relations councils have been in, business a long time before Chief Craig got here. So, just that was just for a little bit of clarity.
Thank you very much for the clarification. I really appreciate you. When I mentioned the police community relations, I was actually tying that into the neighborhood police officers because I know that a number of them also attend. But
they are some great people.
Exactly. But
NPOs, I have a great relationship with the folks over here at number 2. But go ahead, Willie.
Yeah, I appreciate you for that too. For the clarification. I know that the Honorable Mayor Coleman Young started the Police Board of Commissioners in 1974.
Right.
And police oversight is something that's been here for a while, and and I hope that it continued to stay. But you got different layers, and holding people accountable. And I love what you guys are doing over at number 2, and also throughout the rest of the precinct as far as with the community relations piece. This is a very important role in our community where people can get plugged into.
That's right.
For information. So thanks for the clarity.
Tom,
I appreciate
thanks for the call today.
Yep. And I appreciate your service too.
Okay. Brandon, what do you think if it does come back on Tuesday and it's switched out, the vote is switched?
Well, I mean, this is Detroit, and a lot of things can happen in 3 days, especially when you're talking about money. I mean, here's the deal. I'm a big business guy, and I think that the city could utilize it. I think the challenge is this comes back to transparency. And I think one of the things that we have not seen from the administration is we still got a lot of questions. We don't have a lot of transparent answers to say, is this money going to where it is actually intended to go? I think that's the number one thing. The other thing is I think what's going to happen, public opinion is going to come out and say, the reality is money talks. Developers have a big say in our city politics in City Hall. And so the proof is in the pudding. A lot of things can happen in a couple days.
Well, and this thing is sort of a gift to developers because what happens is a lot of times people in the community have their eye on a property and want to buy and work on it. A lot of people want to renovate houses and rent them out that are nearby them. But what ends up happening is they get overstepped, they get skipped over, and some developer comes in who's better connected, gets the place for less money than the resident has been offering, And then a demolition order goes through. They demolish the property, and the developer gets to build on that rather than the people in the community who already were willing to buy the house.
Well, I think that's one of the questions that they were raising about what is the priority. When they start knocking down the houses, what are the priority and what they're going to have and what they're going to have set up? Okay, we got to get to some of these callers here. John, you're on with the panel.
Good morning, Mr. Ficano. Yeah, this guy that shot this police officer, I think he has a right to a speedy trial. We should be done with this by Friday. We know he did it, and that's the end of it. I mean, let's forget all this. And another thing, right.
Well, I know, but the system doesn't quite work like that. But go ahead, John.
Mayor Dugan. Okay, his bond proposal, $250 million, got shut down. But then he's on the other side supporting a DIA millage renewal for 10 years when the DIA said that they only wanted a one-time bailout, and all the pensioners of Detroit had taken a cut in their pays, and now he's out there supporting this. Someone who's paying him. And remember that Graham Bill, whenever he retired from the DIA, would he get a $250,000 parachute package? And I'm in Macomb County. I'm not supporting this DIA millage. And I mean, Mayor Dugan, good about him.
Well, you know what's interesting, and Brandon, you could jump in on this. When we were talking about taxes, the regional transportation issue has come back up, and everybody participated in it except Macomb County Mark Hackle, at least at the press conference. And it's not actually a plan; it's actually a tax plan. I mean, when you really look at how it was laid out, and somebody raised it. It might have been a Hackle that said, the unfairness of it is that because communities can opt out in Oakland and Macomb, Wayne and Oakland that have, if this thing passes, they'll only have one tax for the bus system. These other communities that have chosen to stay in, they're going to end up paying two taxes for a bus system, basically. And he said he thinks that's going to eventually erode any support for that type of system. And plus, it uncaps the millages, which I think is real dangerous when you're looking at it.
This is true, Bob. First of all, we're talking about taxing people who already are struggling. That's the first thing, is that you're putting a tax on folks who really can't afford it in the first place. And then the second thing is, hold on. And then the second thing is that now, unfortunately, when you're talking about the transit and expansion into into Oakland County and Macomb County, it's stories like this. The press is not helping. It's stories like this of crime and cops getting murdered that folks are saying, them old folks are saying, you know what? I'm not sure I want them in my community. It sounds great, but not in my backyard.
Which, yeah, I think if you look at it, if there could have been on the same ballot, there's two renewals for Wayne County that are up. Parks, people aren't really talking about that, but I mean, it's going to be on there. It's a tax renewal, two of them. You're talking about if Duggan's bond proposal will have passed, that's another one. There could also be the expansion with the particular transportation, and then the DIA. There are 5 taxes. I had a friend that is very sympathetic to all of these issues. He said, look, I got 4 pockets. I don't have 6. And so if you keep reaching in, I'm going to just reject all of them.
And, instead of these top-down schemes we try to do with the regional transit and all that, it seems to me that if a community feels like their residents are not getting enough public transportation, that the way they could subsidize that without having this kind of thing where one county, for instance, is paying for the other county's expenses, is give vouchers or, bus tickets and so forth directly to the people that need to ride, and then let the transit systems adapt to the demand of the people that need to ride.
Well, there's a discussion, 2 discussions. Number one, would you ever merge DDOT and SMART so that you get efficiency there? And the other one is, what do you, are people just going to reject all these taxes once you put them all on? That's going to be the real issue with all of it. John, we appreciate John, we appreciate you calling in. We got a number, as I said, a number of callers here. Thanks.
I'll talk to you.
Okay, bye-bye. Colleen, you're on with the panel.
Hi, good morning. Thanks
Good morning.
for taking my call. How
Sure.
are you?
Excellent.
Well, good. You know, there's a term called emotional intelligence, and we as parents need to teach our children not only to be sympathetic and empathetic to themselves, but to others. And it's our responsibility to give them that capability to recognize their own emotions and those of others, you know, to discern between different feelings and label them appropriately. So I think we need to teach our children to express their emotions and to handle their interpersonal relationships judiciously and empathetically, and that will allow them, it'll be better, we will give them the tools, and they'll be better equipped to, you know, to serve their neighborhood and their communities. And I think, you know, empathy, it relates, you know, to our children connecting their personal experiences with those of others.
Okay.
And as far as the demolition, I really would like to see that money go into grants to help those families who have been in the city of Detroit for so many years, who have suffered. Their homes may need a little remodeling, a little TLC, but I'd like to see that money go to grants and not loans.
There used to be a program called SHORE that was exactly set up for that. That was some of the federal and state grants. You're absolutely right. That happened at one time. So we used to administer it through the county, but the funds dried up. Colleen, thanks for calling. We appreciate it. Have a great Sunday, all right?
You too.
Thanks. Walter, you're on with the panel.
All right, buckle up, guys. Let's get to the police. Buckle.
Okay, we're buckled. Go ahead, Walter. Come on, we got a lot of callers. Go ahead.
I'm a Bible-clinging, right-winging, hum-dinging, gun-slinging Negro. That's right. In other words, the interpretation of Trump dumper. We need to bring back law and order. These criminals are out of hand. You know, I know they called Donald Trump a racist when he brought that up. Now you're seeing the results of rejecting what he said in the inner cities that's ran by Democrats, interpretation Democrats. When you show me a Democrat that's in control in any political office, I'll show you misery, destruction, crime.
Like Bill Clinton did? Walter, like Bill Clinton did? Yeah.
Hold on, Bob. I like this guy. I like this guy.
I'm not sure I quite agree with Walter here. You talk about a Democrat in charge. Everybody seemed to have made a lot of money under Bill Clinton when he was in charge.
Bob, hey, tell you what. Who stroked the flames of police hatred? Let's start with Barack insane Osama.
No, I think Trump stroked a lot of that hatred.
No, Bob, don't filibuster me. It started with Barack Obama saying if I had a son, he'd be back play Bob. That's right. And also Sam Little and a lot of talk show hosts on this station, they talk about police brutality all the time. All of a sudden this guy get killed. They want to speak up and say, oh, we're so sorry. Our hearts and our prayers go out to the families. First of all, they don't have no heart. And secondly, they don't pray. And third, if they do pray, God don't hear them because they promote racism, black racism against. And this guy they call Fidel Castro. Let's call him Fidel Castro.
Okay.
He spoke out. He spoke brutality. He spoke out violence against police officers, and you guys didn't correct them.
Okay.
That's right.
Walter, we appreciate it. We got to finish up the other callers, so appreciate it. You have a great Sunday, and appreciate your input here.
You know, Walter, I just want to say this to you, man. This is Commissioner Willie Burton. You know, Sam Riddle, he supports the police department. He also supports the community. If I can't, you know, he's very fair, and he's done great work, and he's continued to do great work right here in our community, and also 910.
Yeah.
You know, as a libertarian, it's always, in a way, kind of, it makes me feel good to hear, Republicans and Democrats taking each other down. But at some point, I got to say, that there is good people with a heart in both these
camps,
other parties, and also they both definitely have plenty of blame they can throw around at each other because obviously government has not been working in the interest of people, and those are the majority parties in our government.
Okay, we got to get to these last couple callers. Let's see, Kenny, you're on with the panel. We got a few minutes here. Kenny?
Yeah, I'm here.
What's on your mind? Go ahead.
Hey, how y'all doing?
Ken. Go ahead.
You know, it's sad that we waste a lot of tax dollar money in the city of Detroit. No one is overseeing this money that's going to this mayor. He wants $250 million. What happened to the millions that was for demolition before? When Charlie LaDuff spoke on it, they removed him from that TV show. You know what I'm saying? They wrote him. And it's sad that we sit up here and we got all these city council, which was the worst thing they could have did with district, because I'm over in the 4th district and I can't get Spivey to return my call for nothing. And then how can you be scared to speak up for the people when the people put you in there, because you got to go along to get along with this mayor? And it's sad. This shouldn't be changed Tuesday. I've been at every meeting. I've been at every meeting at the Chrysler deal over there. They screwed us on that and we're talking about giving us $15,000, which ain't nothing but some peanuts to fix up homes over there for $60,000 to insulate our homes over there. And then everybody going along to get along. And then today they're up in church. They're up in church and praying to God. And then they doing God people like that out here. You got Spivey's supposed to be a minister. Every time he turns around, he's voting along with the mayor. It's a joke. The city politics is a joke. They say what they want to. We need to get all them out of there, because every time we try to put something in place for the people, they vote against it, and that's our tax dollar that's paying them.
Ken, you made a good point too at the church. During the town hall meeting, you said something about they giving out, like, providing small resources for home structures, but you got like upstairs and a downstairs.
A 2-dwelling, and they count my house as a 1-dwelling, but they taxing me for 2 dwellings. Ain't that something? That's why I said it's a joke. It's a joke.
Kenny, we appreciate it. We gotta finish up with some of the callers.
I'm getting it from both ends.
Thanks, Kenny. Thanks for calling in. James, you're on with the panel.
Hey, hello there.
Hi.
Hey, well, the problem is not the younger generation. The problem is the older generation. The young kids do not pass no laws. You all allow a mayor to take that much money from the Detroit public schools. So what do you think the kids are going to do? They're learning from the older generation. It's legal to steal money if you're white. If you're black, it's not legal. Call it like it is.
Okay, well, first of all, James, those tax abatements got to be approved by the city council and by the county commission and by the school board. So you have a number of African Americans that sit on those boards.
Sir, I know that, but I don't need you to tell me that. That's why I called in. Y'all don't allow the callers to talk. The city council is paying off. That's the problem. And y'all don't want to say it. Maybe you can't say it because you got a license to be on the radio. They paid off. They killing their own people. If they was doing it to a white race of people, something will be done about it. As long as the black kids just being hurt, nobody cares. Nobody cares. You make up a big statement and a big fuss about, oh, look at what the Mexicans doing at the border. They're killing the innocent kids. You're killing black kids in this country, and it's not legal. Maybe legal to you, but it's not legal to us. And the killing part, our black church is no good. We need to just board all of them up and let them fill them in the suburbs.
Okay.
Have a good day.
Thanks, James. Last caller, Theo, you're on with the panel.
Happy Sunday to all of you. It was said earlier that all of this respect, et cetera, begins at home. It seems to me that more disrespect, et cetera, is being taught at home. There would be nothing wrong with the schools starting in the lower grades and going on up to teach the children ethics, respect, etc. They're focused during the day. The schools have them for the majority of the time during the day when they are alert. Nothing wrong with them teaching that. Even colleges teach ethics, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, law school, you got to take a course of ethics.
That's right. And a lot of
philosophy curriculum.
Right. I was going to add that. That's correct. So if they're teaching it in the universities, why can't they teach it in the elementary and high schools?
They don't even teach them how government works half the time as well. Theo, thanks. Have a great Sunday. We appreciate it.
And my one word to that is amen.
Brandon, we want to thank you for joining us here today. I know your new show starts December 3rd. You're going to be on from 1 to 3. And any final thoughts that you have here on what you're seeing with Detroit and what you think is going to happen it's Thanksgiving. What's going to happen Tuesday?
First of all, happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Check me out, the Brandon Bryce Show, Straight Talk, Monday through Friday, 1 to 3. And the bottom line is, Bob, we need more butt whoopings. We need more. We need more butt whoopings in the school. We need to bring back the switches. We need to beat our kids into sanity.
Okay, you're going to have an interesting show pushing that. Okay.
I say we need to invest heavily in invest heavily in public safety, ensure that not only our officers are safe but also the community safe. But we also need to touch up on poverty and direct resources right here in the city of Detroit.
Brandon, good luck on your new show. To everybody out there, have a great Thanksgiving. We appreciate you listening. You're listening to 910 AM, the Superstation. My name's Robert Ficano.
Having fun. The difference is really needing a friend and having one. It's good when your people just there to